Welcome everyone to the Blood, Sweat, and Beers NFL podcast. I know what you're thinking. I'm wearing a hockey jersey, not a Packers jersey. That is because I am an entitled Packer fan, and I'm pretty upset with how my team performed this past week, and we're just going to roll with it. This is my friend Josh. Josh, how are you today?
I'm good. I bet you're wondering why I'm wearing a Lions jersey, because they're god-awful. Anyways, no, I'm doing well. I hope the audience is doing well. Hope you enjoy football so far this season and our podcast. But let's dive right in, Eric. Let's talk about those NFC North games. What do you think?
Yeah, we got to talk about it sooner or later, don't we?
We do. We do.
Let's just start with the Vikings versus Bears. I think that was probably one of the better games out of the NFC North. And one of the ones we probably don't mind talking about right now.
No, because neither of our team was really affected other than the Vikings are creeping on the Packers.
Yep. So Kirk Cousins, that game, he went 32 for 41, 296 yards, touchdown, interception. Justin Fields on the other side, 15 for 21, 208 yards, one touchdown. Also threw on 47 rushing yards that game. Dalvin Cook had another really nice game, 18 carries for 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Justin Jefferson, no signs of slowing down. He had another
He's back.
last week at the Saints, and that went against what I said during the last podcast. I think I thought that Lattimore would shut him down that game, but no, he had a pretty solid game that week. Another solid game this time, 12 receptions, 154 yards, no touchdowns, but those are still monster numbers. Nothing special for the Bears. We didn't really expect that. Velus Jones Jr., the rookie, or I suppose we call him Granddad, caught his touchdown. It was his only catch, but he got a touchdown, so that's something promising for the Bears' young wide receivers. Josh, what'd you think?
A couple things stood out. I think we are seeing an improvement in Justin Fields. He had over 100% QBR, which is all you can ask, is about 118. David Montgomery had a game. I mean, he really...
Back from injury, too.
So he really, he was a leading wide receiver, rushed for a hell of a lot of yards. Again, Justin Jefferson, like you mentioned, it's nice to see him back because, obviously you can only hold him back for so long. Jeff Okudah did it, Darius Slay did it, but Lattimore, and obviously, it was a fun game. Kirk Cousins, who would have thought he would be the rusher that would, win the game?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so, I think it was like 2 minutes or something like that left, but, the Vikings, I started the season wondering, what's this new coach going to do? Is it the same Kirk Cousins? I thought Dalvin Cook was going to be injured for quite a while. He's running really well, so they're trending up. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit later in our show, but the Vikings, they really haven't had too much of a competition for their defense to be able to handle so far this year. So it'll be interesting to see this next week how they do against, I forget who they're playing. I have it later in my notes, but I think that, it's Miami actually. They're dealing with a pretty solid wide receiver core this week, and
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think they're going to play like crap, but we'll see. But they got a 4-1 record, best in the NFC North, and having a pretty good start to the season.
So. And Vikings fan out there, we've seen this before. We've seen the Vikings crush for quite a few weeks in the regular season, and then. Who knows? Maybe the new coach is bringing some new blood, and Patrick Peterson's playing really well, the cornerback.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed by him too. But Eric, should we rip off the Band-Aid? Talk about the game that.
Yeah, I suppose. So early Sunday morning game, we had a tragedy over in London. The Packers suffered a brutal loss to the New York Football Giants.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers, not a bad game, 25 for 39, threw two touchdowns. Daniel Jones, 21 for 27, 217 yards, no touchdowns. There's nothing really spectacular in the game. I just felt like the Packers couldn't really put together two complete halves of football. I feel like their defense could also be to blame for that loss. Um, yeah, I feel so defeated in that whole thing, and we could talk a little later too on what I think needs to happen, but I don't know, just growing pains for now.
Yeah. A couple things that stood out to me is the Packers' rushing defense wasn't there. That seemed to be kind of their kryptonite. Barkley had one, Brightwell had one, and hell, their tight end had one,
Yeah.
a rushing touchdown. Danny Dimes did just enough to take care of business. And your rushing attack, I think they had around 96 yards, kind of for par, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
kind of between the two running backs, that's what they're good for. Aaron Rodgers makes a couple great plays. I saw Alan Lazard drop a couple, so, and when your leading wide receiver is Randall Cobb, there's a trust there, which is great,
Yeah.
but I have to talk about Watson. 1 yard, one reception.
Yeah, and I think he might have gone out injured in that game too. It's just frustrating. I think Rodgers is still trying to get these rookies up to speed, get any other receiver up to speed for that matter with the offense, trying to figure things out. It just looking at these stats and watching the game too. It's like I feel like a lot of it is Matt LaFleur's play calling too. Because you want to run Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. You want to keep pounding the rock, and off of those play calls, you give Rodgers the options on these RPOs, these run pass options, and their offense. It's so short. It's like Rodgers just wants to get rid of the ball as quick as he can and hope that these other playmakers, if you want to call them that, obviously Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are playmakers, but it's just trying to get these playmakers the ball and see what they can do with it. And I think a lot of his passes come from less than 15 yards. I think on the season so far, Aaron Rodgers is, I read a stat today, is 6 for 22 on deep balls greater than 20 plus yards. So he doesn't really have that deep down the field receiver to be able to catch those balls. And, I think that's something Romeo Doubs could turn into, or even Christian Watson for that matter. You saw in the first game of the season, he dropped that 75-yard touchdown reception. Now, man, I feel so bad about that because it just felt like one of those moments that like kind of defines Christian Watson's career. Like, oh no, his first big play, and he just, and man, just imagine that hanging over his head. I mean, I don't know what kind of resiliency this guy has, but
I'm sure. I mean,
yeah,
first year, and I was just going to ask about that play calling, and that's kind of why I was alluding to the Watson thing, because it almost seems like he's kind of a gimmick player more than someone they're working into the offense.
Right.
We'll do an end around, we'll do all
get
these
the ball in his hands.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it's working great for Tyreek Hill. It's working great for all these speedy wide receivers. And to your point, Aaron Rodgers, it seems like a dink and dunk and careful, but that's kind of his MO, right? Like, he doesn't like to throw picks. He's very careful and with the ball, which is great.
Right.
But you have to, let it rip sometimes to find that success. But Giants, I'm going to end on, do you think they're legit? I mean, with their record, and it seems like their coach has really got them playing good ball. Saquon Barkley is really gravitating towards, greatness again. So
yeah, I haven't really thought about that too much, but you're right. It does seem like that team is rallying around that new coach there, and I think they've got something to play for. We'll talk about it a little later in the show, but Odell Beckham Jr., I mean, he's still a free agent out there, maybe coming back to New York if that fits his fancy. Obviously, it's up to him, but yeah.
Depends on how much of a contender they are. And we'll talk about the game I've been dreading to talk about, obviously.
I honestly didn't know it was this bad.
Oh, it was
I
bad.
looked up the stats because I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I looked up the stats and I said, "Ooh, we have to talk about this."
Yeah, sadly, I did watch the game, and just to hear the announcers speak, and it wasn't necessarily stats, really.
No,
It was
no.
more so just the way the game was managed and how terrible the Detroit Lions defense is. It was their first stop in, gosh, I can't remember how many quarters they said, like 12 quarters.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And they were without some players in this game
Oh, yeah.
too, weren't they?
Again, for the second week.
Yeah.
St. Brown was in the game, but he's not 100%.
Yeah.
Swifty's out. So, cornerbacks are not that good. So, but yeah, if you want to speak on this game first, I'll kind of follow up and go from there.
Yeah, the two big highlights I have in this game were Ramondre Stevenson. He had a really big game. I think Damien Harris went down in that game. So Stevenson got the majority of the carries, 25 of them, 161 yards. No touchdowns, but obviously that's a pretty good stat line. And then also for the Patriots, Nick Folk, their kicker, 5 for 5 on his field goals. And I think the defense got a score too in that game. So.
Yeah, I had Nick Folk in my fantasy football. So, I mean, if there was any
silver lining
in this game is that I had Nick Folk kicking a field goal or an extra point every time they scored on the Detroit Lions. I mean, run defense, obviously, you spoke about 161 yards for, I mean, up-and-comer. I mean, Stevenson, because he's from Bama, isn't he? Another Bama running back. But
I can't answer that with 100% certainty. I don't know.
I believe he is. But the Lions are getting ran all over every week after week, and their defense is just pathetic. Some positives. Josh Reynolds, 92 yards for the Lions.
Yeah.
So that's a standout game. But St. Brown have 18 yards. Hawkinson, 6 yards after 178 the following week.
So last year, it seemed like Jared Goff kind of had a connection with Wisconsin wide receiver Quintez Cephas.
Yeah, he's a ghost this year.
And then he got injured, and I think, is that kind of when Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of stepped in? And it just kind of seemed, it seems weird because Quintez Cephas is back now, right? And
he is, and
so
he has big playability.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering where he's at because the guy they brought in, DJ Chark, doesn't really seem like he's doing much either. So
I haven't heard much, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's just kind of a product of their own doing. They bring in a guy like DJ Chark and they say, well, we got to slide somebody down the depth chart. So.
Right, and when Jameson Williams comes back, that's even going to be.
I can't wait.
Even that we could be looking at it after this bye week. We could be seeing Jameson Williams at full force.
Yeah, and
possibly.
While that is exciting, you mentioned it too. The Detroit defense Jameson Williams isn't going to fix the Detroit.
No, offense isn't the problem.
Yeah, and we saw during that game against the Seahawks. One of the highest scoring games this year. I mean, yeah, it'll bring certainly another element to that offense, but
no, it's not going to change the outcome of many games. Instead of
it'll be exciting.
Oh, it will. Instead of 35 points, we'll score 42, but then our defense will allow 50. So, I mean, it's the nature of the beast. We have a lot of work to do. To go for it on 4th and 9, though, that was, I don't know if you heard about that, but
no.
Our coach just goes for it on 4th and down every time. So
he's got grit.
Yeah, knee biter. 4th and 9, I think we're even in Patriots territory. It's dumb football.
Yeah.
So we got some work to do. A lot of work to do.
Patriots territory.
Fuck it. Anyways, pardon my language. Vikings. So I took a look at the standings as it stands right now. 4-1 Vikings, 3-2 Packers, 2-3 Bears, 1-3 Detroit. Not what I predicted at all. Kind of when we first started our podcast.
Yeah.
So
I think I was kind of right. I thought the Bears would for sure be at the bottom, and I think they still will.
They
end up
might
at the
be.
bottom.
They might be. Yeah.
Vikings, though, I mean, I kind of gave them credit in the beginning of the season. I
did?
remember I
You
predicted the Packers to win the division, but I thought the Vikings they were going to be right up there with the rest of the division, and I can't say I'm too surprised. I kind of figured we'd be going through these growing pains as a Packer fan. Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that, you guys play well in a wild card, so maybe you'll end up being a wild card.
Yeah, that's
rally
true.
around that,
Yeah.
underdog mentality.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of seems like one of those teams that could potentially, maybe after their bye week, I hope not the bye week because I think that's pretty late in the season. But, at some point in the season where it eventually just kind of clicks, and maybe it's with Christian Watson, maybe it's with Romeo Dobbs, maybe it's with some other players that they bring in. We'll talk about that a little later.
Or Aaron Jones. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that offense could just click and just go on a tear at the end of the season, and it's all about getting hot at the right time. That's any sport, really.
and boy, when your defense is hot, like when you get Gary, rushing the quarterback consistently, you have arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Some up and comers, good safety, Savage. Yeah, you guys have the tools. It's just a couple bad breaks.
Yeah.
Next, I kind of want to get off of the topic of NFC North, just for a little bit. I want to talk about some topics in the NFL, some kind of things that are going around the league.
Yeah, some hot takes.
Hot takes. First, we have to talk about Russell Wilson. Obviously, not playing up to his contract, not cooking, you could say.
Yeah.
So far, he has just shy under 1,300 yards, 4 TDs, 3 interceptions, QBR of 59.40. That's not franchise quarterback play. That's kind of mediocre or worse play. What are your thoughts on Russell Wilson?
Yeah, no, Seattle's sitting pretty right now with Geno Smith playing way above expectations, and
a crap ton of picks that they got.
yeah, and I think it's unfortunate because Russell Wilson just seems like a really good dude.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
So I don't know if he's got something going on, or just something in his head. Another thing I thought too is, it's a big altitude change.
Yeah.
Going from Seattle to Denver. They always talk about opening kickoffs in that game, going way past out of the end zone. And I wonder if that also translates to throwing the football too. Maybe it's just got a little extra zip on it, flies over people's heads, or the accuracy isn't quite right. And I feel like that's something a quarterback would eventually get used to, and especially in training and stuff like that. But really unfortunate. I remember seeing this tweet about him after this game where he was, it was an hour after game time. It was last Thursday night's game against the Colts. What a dud. But he was just sitting at his locker, still had his pads on, and he's just having like a heart-to-heart conversation with the coach. I don't really know what they were talking about, but it just kind of seemed like one of those things where he's just so down on himself, like I just don't know what's wrong. I got to get my head clear, and so whatever it is, I wish the best for Russell Wilson. I hope he can kind of wrap his head around whatever needs to be fixed, because that's a really great division. The Broncos have a really good defense still.
Oh,
they're keeping that team in a lot of games, and it would be exciting to see them perform very well because. Before the season started, I kind of predicted that entire division to be fighting for not only the division title, but the wild card spots as well. So
Right, absolutely right. And I thought about it with Russell Wilson. If you get a new job, right? So you've been with this company for, let's say, 10 or 11 years, and all of a sudden your whole atmosphere has changed. Those comfortable things that you're used to, going to work, saying hi to your familiar friends, saying hi to your familiar, whatever. It's all changed for Russell Wilson, including where he's living. So maybe he's having a hard time adjusting. Maybe the coach doesn't have the schemes that are working with his talents. But yeah, it's really something to watch. Next one is we have our first coach firing.
Yeah, Matt Rule out of Carolina. And also later that day too, I think the defensive coordinator got fired from that team as well.
That's right.
Not too shocked. I kind of thought the first firing that we would see this year would have either been from the Commanders or surprisingly the Pittsburgh Steelers too.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I mean, I don't think that's a Mike Tomlin issue. I feel like that organization has to know that
they're starting something new.
Yeah, they're starting something new, and I feel like Tomlin is still kind of the staple of what that team wants to be. I really don't think it's his fault at all. Yeah, but I mean, the Panthers off to a rocky start. They're forced to start PJ Walker this week due to I think a high ankle sprain from Baker Mayfield.
4 to 6 weeks, I think I read. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Whether or not it's his doing for the disappointment that he's shown, or if it's the play calling, or if it, maybe there's something going on. And it always seems like there's something going on behind the scenes, like the team's just not really rallying behind this guy. The dude kind of looks like a doofus anyways, but...
Yeah, he's just...
a college coach, right? He came from college.
Well, and some coaches just are better in college.
Yeah, they don't translate well.
They don't translate. Look at Nick Saban. He was garbage for the Dolphins. It's just one of those things. And he'll get a job in college. I have no worries about that. He'll probably get picked up later. Who knows? It's just the Panthers are disappointing. There's been rumors already that they kind of have their eye on Sean Payton, the old Saints coach. So obviously that would bring a lot of excitement and possibly some free agents so they can make a quick turnaround.
Now, did Sean Payton say he was retiring or...
Break.
He just needed a break? Okay.
Yeah, so it's a break. He's not real young, but I mean...
No, he's not as old as Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Pete Carroll. I mean, he's still chewing gum at a rapid rate. So,
Boy, he's saving his ass this season too. With
Geno
performing outside of his out of his mind.
That could be a really quick turnaround with the amount of picks that they got from the Broncos for Russ, and then maybe Geno another year. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like one of those situations where they're just pleasantly surprised with how Geno Smith has been performing. Maybe they get like the 12th or 15th, anywhere in between there, that pick in the draft, and they land a really good quarterback, or maybe they even try to trade up for one, with the understanding that Geno Smith will be the starter. It happens every year. They don't really like to throw these rookies into the fire right away. I mean, as long as Geno's doing well, there's no reason to let him go to another team.
I say let Geno cook.
Yeah.
It's very good. I think Rashad Penny did get injured though, so that might slow down that running game a little.
Oh, I don't think it'll slow down that running game. Kenneth Walker, the rookie they drafted, all these radio shows I listen to, he's the number one waiver wire target this week.
Really? Okay.
I think don't get too excited. I think you're last on the pecking order there. And for some reason I'm ninth, and I'm only 1 and 4. But I don't know. That's a whole nother story. But no, I think he'll step into that role, and he'll ground and pound just the same as Rashad Penny. I think he's got a similar skill set there in Seattle.
Well, good. Hopefully we can see another rookie running back really exceed. Next is OBJ. He's kind of making the news slowly. We kind of knew going into this season that he wasn't going to sign, with the idea that why rush signing when you're not even healthy yet, and B, maybe you can capitalize on some injuries and get some more money from a team that really needs a wide receiver. So it's a win-win. Teams I've been hearing, like you mentioned earlier, the Giants.
Yep.
That'd be kind of fun to watch because they've had some injuries on the wide receivers. You've seen them go 3-1 or 4, whatever they are now. Another one I'm hearing is Tampa. Tom Brady keeps on getting
Yeah,
richer.
why
Why
not?
not?
Yep.
Just give him another, somebody to carry him along. And then,
Don't say it. Don't say it. He's not going to the Packers.
no, I was going to say the Saints.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Okay.
I would like to see OBJ go to the Packers.
I wouldn't. I think that's just a waste of freaking money. I think, he's coming back from an ACL injury, which he suffered in February. So most people, that's like a 12-month thing. Sometimes, some of these young guys, I mean, I guess he's not super young anymore, come back in 9 months. And I just feel like it's going to be one of those things where late in the season, he's going to finally say, okay, I'm ready. And I'm going to pick the best team in the NFL to go to. And I don't care how much I get paid. I just want another ring. Or maybe it kind of lines up both ways. Like maybe I will get paid quite a bit and I'll also have a chance for a ring. And yeah, I don't know. So I just don't feel like the Packers would really be the best fit for him because I don't think he'll have enough time to get in that offense, play at 100%, and just immediately click with Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers is a unique kind of quarterback. He likes to take his time, butter up his young wide receivers and get them ready to go and get that chemistry with them. So I was intrigued at the idea last year of OBJ going to the Packers, but that was when he was fully healthy. I just don't think there's enough time this year for him to go there. So, yeah, I would really like to see him go to the Giants. I think that'd be a good story, going back to the Giants. And I don't really know how old he is, but I feel like
he's probably 27, 28, if I were to guess.
Yeah, so probably 28.
If you guys want to put it in the comments, do your quick Google search.
Yeah.
Put in the comments because you'll probably know better than us. And feel free to like and subscribe if you're liking the content so far.
Yeah.
One I have also to talk about is run CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Trade rumors, obviously, when there's a coach firing and quarterback, crappy quarterback room, let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
It's a bad quarterback room. They're even more so of a rebuilding stage.
Yeah.
What teams have you been hearing, Eric?
Well, you're right. I feel like as a general manager, when you have to make that decision to let go of one of your head coaches or offensive coordinators, defense coordinators, whatever that may be, you're making that decision that, okay, let's just wipe the slate clean, let's start fresh. And that's going to be hard to do if you're going to hang on to all your superstars. So you're right. I think this is a great opportunity for that team to offload. I don't want to say get rid of, but offload and maybe acquire some of that draft capital for a guy like Christian McCaffrey. He's only 26 years old.
Young guy.
Still a young guy, so it's still at least 3 good years of running back capabilities there. I didn't really think too much of where he might land. I feel like the Rams might be a good spot for him.
Yeah.
Cam Akers is kind of like, all right, but Akers definitely really hasn't lived up to his draft potential. So I feel like a Rams team that is struggling offensively,
Which they are. Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good fit for him. That defense, I don't think has any problem. I think they're still one of the best defenses in the league. I just think that offense is having a hard time hanging in there. So maybe just an extra safety blanket guy like Christian McCaffrey.
Checkdowns.
To be able to get in there, and it's not even a check down really. If you
You
get
can
a
line them
guy
up.
like that, he's your first read sometimes. Oh, well, Cooper Kupp.
Cup and Allen Robinson and
Yeah, so I mean that could be pretty explosive if he goes to the Rams. Did you have any other teams in mind for him?
yeah, but I guess with the Rams, you wonder, do they have any picks left off? Or,
That's
you know what I
true,
mean?
yeah,
So
exactly.
I think their next pick is in like 2032, I believe it was. So, no, I've heard something really dangerous. The Buffalo Bills.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine just opening? I mean, the offense is open as it is, but to have another toy for Josh Allen to play with other than Diggs and all these Gabriel and all these guys he has to throw to have a running back that, you know, is a multifaceted kind of player. That would be fun to watch. The Broncos, boy, would Russell Wilson utilize Christian McCaffrey with a hell of a struggling offense and, get his confidence back up, do those little checkdowns, have those read options.
Yeah, the Broncos is interesting because you have a guy like Javonte Williams going down with complete knee failure, it sounds like. Not only the ACL, but every other tendon in there. But going in there, landing that spot with Melvin Gordon, then I feel like that organization could have the potential to just move on from Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Have that strong back as CMC. Well, I don't know if he'd be a free agent next year, but I can't remember what his.
Oh, he's got a while. I think they signed
details
him to a pretty. I think he probably has
Yeah,
3 or 4 years left, averaging probably $10 million a year, maybe more.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, any of those teams sound like good fits. Not really any direct conflicts with any teams within their own division. It doesn't go against with, what they're trying to do for the future. He's not going to make a big impact on that team. Because, it's kind of like trading a guy or releasing a guy like Brett Favre from the Packers, and then he just goes and plays with the Vikings a few years later, and it's like, oh, man, come on. But no, a guy like McCaffrey he could honestly fit with any team in this league, I think, if the price was right. But yeah, man, the Bills, that would be scary.
With DeAndre or with Swifty's injuries, it wouldn't be the worst idea. Now, Christian McCaffrey's had his own injury problems, but at this point, the Lions need all the help. Can he play cornerback, though? That's the question I have. Can he play cornerback for the Lions?
Yeah.
But anyways.
So the Lions need all the help they can get. Let's move on to some dream trade scenarios.
Sure.
I'll let you think about this for a while. I don't know if you've thought about it, but maybe some top-notch guys. It sounds like maybe on the defense that you would want to come out and help your team.
Yep.
I'll start with the Green Bay Packers. I think now is the time to, and we say this every year as a Packer fan, but it's just not how the organization is. But now is the time, I think, to go out, spend it all, get what you need to make this team where it needs to be to make a playoff push and a Super Bowl contender and to bring home that ring. Because my thoughts are, you need to get Aaron Rodgers to the Super Bowl.
At least one more time.
Yeah, you need to get him to the Super Bowl. You need to get him his ring so that he could say at the end of the year,
2 rings.
Yeah, 2 rings. I got my ring. I could just ride off into the sunset, do some ayahuasca, and call it a career. But at the same time, if you don't do anything and this team just looks like absolute dog water at the end of the year, or maybe they barely make it in the playoffs and have a heartbreaking week 1 playoff loss, you still have Rodgers in the same situation, do I really want to be here anymore?
Maybe I should retire.
Maybe I should retire and do something cheeky like Brett Favre did, So all that being said, I think if you're gonna do anything, you might as well do all you can to get that ring rather than do nothing and suck and have him leave anyway. I feel like he might leave anyways.
Yeah.
That's just my thought. So my dream trade scenario has to do with the Carolina Panthers. I feel like trading away maybe a first-round pick and either a second rounder or a third rounder or maybe a defensive guy. I haven't really thought about a defensive guy yet, but go out and acquire wide receiver DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers. This guy, I think, is the deep threat that the Packers need. The past 3 years, this guy has averaged a 93 PFF rating on deep passes thrown on 20-plus yards down the field. I feel like this is the guy. He was just signed to a great contract. So if they were to acquire him, he would only count I think this year 6.2 something million against the cap. So, you know, maybe they'd have to do something with the numbers there. And then I think next year it would be, you know, crazy with the cap numbers. They'd have to get rid of him or get rid of some other guys. Or yeah, but that's all in the future. That's all in 2023. Don't worry about that right now. I feel like this is a guy they could bring in. It just sucks because Rogers, like I said before, Rogers is that kind of guy that he'll take his time and he'll, you know, they gotta figure out all the quirks and they gotta get everything just right. But man, this guy, he's a pretty good route runner and he's just been hampered by poor quarterback play.
You're not wrong there.
But at the same time, he's had
Success.
3 or 4 straight seasons of 1,000+ receiving yards. So he is a guy that is completely capable of being a number 1 wide receiver. So I feel like the Packers could bring him in, maybe put Romeo Doubs on the other side as a Z receiver. Alan Lazard could slide into the big slot wide receiver player, similar to how Devontae Adams did. You know, he kind of lined up in the slot sometimes. And then bring in Randall Cobb when you need him for those clutch plays on 3rd down and whatever. And man, I think DJ Moore would be a great fit. So that's something I'm looking forward to see before the trade deadline. I don't know how much that rumor is floating around, but I thought about that a lot. And man, that'd be cool to see. So.
I mean, it could be a fire sale. You never know.
Yeah.
I've heard Robbie Anderson. Now, he's kind of a one-trick pony where he's, you know, he has one route he runs, and that's fast route. You know, just down the field, hit me if you can, which Rodgers this year, according to the numbers you told me, isn't really successful. But again, it's chemistry. It's, you know, maybe it's separation by the young wide receivers that just isn't happening. And, you know, for him to get that target that you're talking about more, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Even if it costs you a first, you're going to be a playoff team, I would assume. So you're giving up
Yeah, I don't know what else the Packers could spend a 1st-round draft pick on in any more drafts. You know, I mean, we mentioned next year they're getting rid of a few guys, Alan Lazard, Adrian Amos, their safety. So yeah, maybe they go out and get safety help with the uncertainties of Darnell Savage at free safety and or strong safety. I forget which one he is, but yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. I just hope something happens because it's very rare for the Packers to trade. You know, you never really see them involved in especially in a mid-season trade.
They're very old school. Still, the way they run their franchise, they rely on the draft.
Yep, draft.
They rely on winning in the draft.
Yep.
And then free agency, they're more so in the news for losing them than gaining them. But they draft well. I mean, I gave you a bunch of heck when they drafted Gary.
Oof.
But look how that turned.
Yeah.
I mean, when his motor's running, he's dangerous. Yeah.
Do you think of anybody for the?
You know, it's a really hard one because it would be an interdivision trade.
Okay.
But Roquan Smith.
Oh yeah.
From the Bears, he has just been playing lights out at the middle linebacker position, and for us to have that staple and, you know, 14 tackles a game. And cornerback, there's so many good corners. I don't want Jalen Ramsey because to me he's a great corner, but he's also getting exposed quite a bit. But I would say a younger corner, insert name here, whoever that is, that would be a really good one. Okuda's kind of showing slowly that he's capable of being a good corner, but more of a number 2. Yeah, I would say a cornerback and Smith. That would be my dream scenario. And, you know, I wouldn't say right now there's a quarterback. Yes, there's a lot better quarterbacks than Jared Goff. In fact, if Lamar, for example, that was a rumor that the Lions was on his list. Would I hate it? Absolutely not. If I gave up 2 firsts for Lamar Jackson?
I feel like that's more of a off-season kind of thing.
It would be, it's not a middle of the season, especially while he's playing freaking lights out right now. The Ravens are going to give him up.
Yeah. That's interesting you mentioned Roquan Smith, too, because he had that not hold out, but hold in
Yeah.
for the Bears earlier this season. But you also mentioned the interdivision trade that would have to happen. So it's not like the Bears paid Roquan Smith and the Detroit Lions would be doing them a favor of offloading that contract. So you'd have to give up some draft capital or some player depth, I guess, to make that trade happen. But I just don't know if he's on the trade block, because I think the understanding is that, hey, listen, Roquan, we really want to pay you a lot of money. We actually want to pay you, but there's just so many turds that aren't on our roster right now that we're paying money to.
Yeah.
Because we had to cut them. I think Andy Dalton is still collecting a paycheck from the Chicago Bears, even though he just played a game with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe Jimmy Graham is still getting some money.
They're just really poor decisions. Really poor decisions.
Yeah. So I think this year's just kind of growing pains with the Chicago Bears and. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting to see Roquan Smith.
Oh, I love it. So. It would bring such a. I think it would change the whole presence of the Lions defense. Aiden Hutchinson, he had that one standout game, and from there, I just want to see more.
Yeah.
So, I refuse to believe that this is just another rebuild year. I want to see some improvement, but for us to be it is what it is.
Guys, what do you think? Some dream trade scenarios. What would you like to see happen with your team? Who are some guys out there that you think might be on the trade block? We'd love to hear it. I'm always down for some rumors and some speculation. And we'll be bringing that to you these next few weeks here too, some trade rumors that possibly come up, and we'll give you our takes on those.
Yeah, please mention in the comments, and we would love to be interactive with those comments and kind of what ifs. That's always fun to look at. Let's talk about week 6. Gosh, can you believe it's already week 6?
Yeah, I thought about that too while we were discussing trades. I was like, man, some of these teams have to make these trades pretty soon.
Pretty darn soon.
We're getting into the first week here where some teams are on bye weeks. The Lions, they're on the bye week this week. Yeah, man, that's crazy. 6 weeks into the season. That's a third of the way through the season already.
Right. With the extended, it's a lot of surprises.
Well, the regular season, I should say.
Yeah. First game, we'll talk about the Chicago Bears. They're playing against the Commanders. Carson Wentz not playing that well. The team really isn't playing that well. Early prediction for me, I have them winning 24-17. What do you have, Eric?
I had you had the Bears winning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Bears are for real. I think the Bears still suck. I'm going to say it every single week. I think both of these teams suck. They're just trash. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It is a Thursday night football game, which
is disgusting.
Sucks. But I guarantee you there will be a touchdown scored in this game.
Who scores it? Who do you have betting?
Oh man, McLaurin hasn't gotten into the end zone into the end zone this season yet. So I think McLaurin's probably going to haul one in. I could be wrong on the McLaurin thing, but I don't think he's gotten into the end zone. But I think so. My final score prediction is 23-20. So that leaves it to, let's see, if you give McLaurin a touchdown, and could you give, let's see, what's 14, that's 6, 9, okay, yeah, so give McLaurin a touchdown, then make it a news story, and make it like an amazing comeback story. Give Washington Commanders running back Brian Robinson a touchdown.
That would be cool, actually. That'd be really cool.
So I think they'll get their 2 touchdowns there, and then the field goal will have, or the field goal kicker will have three. He'll go 3 for 3 for his field goals. this is all like super specific. So if I get this right, it's gonna be crazy.
How many sips of Gatorade will Carson Wentz
yeah,
have?
exactly. So it's gonna be 23-20. You know what? I'll even add on the other side of the football. I think Cole Kmet, he'll get his first touchdown of the season. Again, I could be wrong. He may have scored before, but if not, I think he'll get his first touchdown reception of the season. It'll be on a play action bootleg. Justin Fields, it'll be a 4-yard pass to Cole Kmet to the end zone on a bootleg.
Are you guys writing this down real quick, just so we can reference next episode?
Man, that'd be crazy if I got that right. I should play the lottery.
Yeah, no kidding. You should be, yeah. Cole Kmet, yeah, I think he had like 56 yards last game, so we've talked about him a couple of times on our show.
It's always fun to give scenarios like that.
Isn't it? Yeah, we all want to play coach, and it's fun to see those come to fruition and be like, yeah, I would totally do zone on that one, and then it works. So,
Yeah.
very cool. Jets versus Packers. I have this one closer than you would probably think. I have Packers obviously winning 31, but I think the Jets are going to put up 24. I think they're playing really well with Zach Wilson back at the helm. I think they're 2-0 since Zach Wilson has come in. Could be all those old ladies that he's bringing home, but
The Cougars.
the Cougars. But anyways, I think the Jets are playing good ball right now. I think the Packers are going to have that redemption game though, where they are clicking.
Yeah.
Where they are finding that spark again. I think you'll see a Dobbs game with 8 catches, 7-8 catches, probably 120 yards. Running backs on full steam. So
Yeah.
but yeah, what do you have, Eric?
Yeah, whatever you say. I wish I would have brought the stats with me, but Aaron Rodgers coming off of a loss, I think the stats favor Aaron Rodgers there.
I'm sure it does.
So and even that defense too. I think that defense was just embarrassed. Yeah, you mentioned they're pretty bad against the run. I feel like they always have been. But this is a rookie running back. Yeah, it's the best rookie running back. But I think this defense more than anything will come out and make a statement. I think they'll have multiple turnovers this game. I think Jair Alexander gets his first pick of the game, so write that down.
There you go. All
or
right.
first pick of the season, rather.
Let's write this down.
I think the Packers will win 27-13.
Okay.
So that's a lot of points. I still don't think that they'll be where they want to be offensively. I think there's still going to be some of those miscues on some of the route running. But I think Matt LaFleur, the head coach, is going to realize, I really need to stick with what I know is true. And what I think he knows is true is Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon in that backfield.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a lot of pounding the rock. And I think the defense will have a strong showing this week. So.
Okay. Yeah. So we both agree that Packers will win. So, I agree with that. Vikings versus Dolphins. I probably have this different than you do, only because Tua is still in concussion protocol. Teddy Bridgewater is in concussion protocol. Now that could change. And they're down to their third stringer. Yes, you have Tyreek Hill. Yes, you have Jalen Waddle. Yes, the offensive is explosive. Defense is playing well. I think the Vikings are going to easily win this game. Now, that has bit me in the butt before saying a team will easily win. But 35-10, Vikings.
Ooh.
I have Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I have Kirk Cousins throwing for over 300 yards. I have Dalvin Cook for over 110. I think it's good. Justin Jefferson's going to go off.
Wow.
I really feel this is going to be a statement game for the Vikings where they literally run away with it.
Okay.
So it's going to be, I could be wrong. I very well could be wrong, but I think this is going to be a Vikings game where they're going to have a lot of fun.
So I was wrong in the last podcast where I said the Viking Saints game was going to be a trap game, but I'm calling it right now. I wish I had a big old red button right here. I'm gonna hit it, and there's gonna be confetti flying from the ceiling. A big red light's going. Brr, brr, brr. This is a trap game. You mentioned the quarterbacks. You know, I think Tua's still gonna be out, but Teddy Bridgewater, he's not showing any signs of a concussion, which is good. I think he was back in practice today, maybe limited or something like that.
Okay.
So I think he will play. Typically those reports indicate indicate that the player will suit up for the next week's game.
Okay.
So I mean, man, this Teddy Bridgewater back
coming
against
home.
his Vikings. Oh man. Well, actually, it's Vikings at Dolphins, but still,
It's his old team.
yeah, I mean, it's his old team. I really think this is a trap game. The Vikings suck against the blitz. I feel like the Dolphins' defense is just as underrated as the Packers' defense. I mean, oh man, I feel like the Dolphins could do so much to scheme against this Vikings team. And like I actually mentioned earlier in the show, that the Vikings this year have been faced with some offenses that haven't really been, top tier offenses. We go back to week 1 against the Packers, they completely dominated them, but what was their offensive identity, And we've always known that the Packers have been pretty bad against the run, and week 1 it didn't change. Dalvin Cook ran for a whole bunch, and man, I think the Dolphins are going to blitz hard this game. This wide receiver core for the whole offense.
It's fantastic.
Raheem Mostert is coming on now as the running back. He's getting more of that snap share. He's getting those flashy looks. I'd like to see Mike Gesicki get more involved. Their tight end. I feel like I got beer goggles on right now, but I'm not really paying attention to whatever's going on with the Vikings. I gave them some credit with 17 points, but I think the Dolphins are going to put up 27 points, and it's going to be a Dolphins win. I think, I think the Vikings need to come back down to earth. They're not going to be a 5-1 team. I think their defense will have to answer some questions as to what's going on there in their secondary, and oh crap, can we really handle this top tier wide receiver talent?
I don't think Patrick Peterson's going to cover Tyreek Hill.
No, he can't keep up. No way.
No. Tyreek Hill is, I would say, having one of the most underrated years.
He's having one of his best years.
I know.
He had one of his best games. What was that where he scored 2 or 3 touchdowns or something?
It was the game that Tua threw 6 TDs. He had 178 yards. Yards receiving.
Yeah, so Tyreek Hill is definitely not a product of Patrick Mahomes and his talent. That's no discredit to Mahomes, but 2 superstars right there splitting ways. Tyreek Hill's showing that he's a top tier wide receiver over there in Miami. So
last game, news for everyone. Detroit Lions defense is on another bye week, so just. Like they have been all year. So, no, in all seriousness, Lions are on a bye week. Hopefully, Swift is back. Hopefully, St. Brown is back healthy. Hopefully, Jameson Williams is back healthy. Tracy Walker, I believe, was injured last week, their safety. I really hope we can get things on the right track.
Yeah, this is a perfect time for
them
to have a bye week, I think.
It is. Yeah. Granted, it's a little bit early. Some people want it a little bit later in the year. I think right now
after a loss like that.
Yeah, Dan Campbell said this is our low point, like the lowest point. It reminds me of last year when we played the Eagles and they just ran all over us, and it was just an embarrassment. So for us to get beat by a third-string quarterback, clearly outcoached. Dan Campbell has to look in the mirror this week and really decide, do I have the right defensive coordinator right now? I think no. Myself personally, Aaron Glenn, not the right guy because his schemes, he's not making any, halftime arrangements, anything like that. But I'll get off of that topic. Last topic I want to talk about, and maybe it's a little bit early, but sometimes it's kind of fun. I want to do Super Bowl predictions. It's week 6 next week, but if we were to look in that 8-ball or that globe, who are the teams that you think could be in the Super Bowl? I have a couple. If we were to end the season right now, that's always the famous saying.
Yeah, so let's start with the NFC, and actually let's start with the NFC Championship game.
Okay, yeah.
So I think the Eagles, obviously, they're 5-0 right now, so they're probably, I don't want to just call them a Super Bowl team, but I want to think, okay, who's going to be that team that's going to come into that NFC Championship game? You know, is it going to be Tampa Bay? You know, I just don't know. Who are some other NFC teams that you think are going to make it there?
It could be the Packers again.
Or, I mean, do you think the Eagles are just the clear cut?
No.
No?
I think eventually defensive coordinators will get an idea of what they're scheming.
Yeah.
I think they will blitz more. They will expose Jalen Hurts. I think they will make the NFC Championship game. If I were to predict right now, I think the Eagles will be there. I also feel I don't think the Bucs will be there. I don't think their offense is really what it was their Super Bowl year. I also don't believe the Rams will be there.
Okay.
So if we were to look,
Well, I'm just looking through the standings here. It's the Eagles on top right now. You got the Vikings. They're the only 4 win. Well, actually, you got the Dallas Cowboys. We forgot to talk about Cooper Rush and the whole Cowboys situation there, but
yeah, Dak. I mean, anybody need a quarterback? Trade for Dak.
New York Giants 4-1, and I mean some of these teams. Man, I hate to see the Cowboys go, but it would be good for them, you know.
Just to hear all those fans would just be.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it.
So, but you're right. I feel like it's still kind of shaky in the NFC here.
The Cardinals, like from last year, where they were like holy buckets, they're not really doing much.
Yeah.
And the teams that are doing much, I feel they don't have much ground or like real stability. They're more so kind of gimmicky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, who knows? I mean, I would say Eagles or Packers, and I think the Packers, they're just well coached.
Yeah, and like I said before, the Packers could be that team to hit that streak at the right time and make that playoff push. And
or the Niners, you know?
No, not the Niners.
Come
no,
on.
but I mean, on the other side of the ball, or on the other side of the conference, I think it's a clear-cut Bills versus Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
We'll have a rematch. How cool would that be?
I don't
Just
think
another
there's any
flip of a
question
coin.
there. And I think the Bills will prevail in that one. I think they have just as good of an offense, if not better. And then they'll get the revenge against the Chiefs. Their defense, I think, is way better. I think by that time,
no question
they'll all
about
be healthy too. I mean, they're still pulling out these wins with a lot of these injuries on the defense. So
yeah,
I'm going to go with Bills for.
I think
Super Bowl
I think
too.
it's pretty easy. Yeah, I mean, I like the Chiefs. I like Andy Reid. I think they're a well-coached team. Patrick Mahomes obviously makes all the wild plays.
Yeah, you know, I like the Chiefs too, and I thought that was a real good story. I'm real glad Patrick Mahomes got a Super Bowl ring. But it's not like I hate the Bills. Like,
oh no,
maybe I hate the Bills fan base a little bit.
they're kind of fun though.
But,
like they jump on the
they are
table.
fun. Exactly. Josh Allen seems like a really good kid. I think who's their head coach, McDermott? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
He seems like a cool dude. I wouldn't be mad if the Bills made it to the Super Bowl and won. Obviously,
all.
well, I would be a little mad if they beat the Packers. In
Well,
the Super
yeah, of
Bowl,
course.
but-
No,
No.
yeah. If I were to pick an early favorite, it would probably be the Buffalo Bills.
The
Bills.
Willies.
The Willies to win the championship, and I could see the Eagles. Maybe they could be the surprise team. Maybe they are a gimmick, but Jalen Hurts keeps on playing the way they do. AJ Brown, Slim Reaper, all those guys.
Are they playing in Arizona this year? Does that sound right? For the Super Bowl?
That could be.
I think it is Arizona.
Well, I don't think Arizona's going to be.
No, I don't think so either. Guys, who do you think is going to make it to the Super Bowl? Would love to know your opinions. And if you are a, let's see, Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you don't have to answer this because we already know your answer is not going to be correct. No, I'm just kidding. But really, let us know. We love to hear. Boy, I should throw some shade at the other side too. Hey, Washington Commanders.
Commanders team. Yeah, Carson
Sitting
Wentz
there
fans.
at 1-4. Detroit.
Well, I
Lions
can't
right
say
above.
much of that either. Yeah, I think we're a better football team than the
Yeah.
Commanders. I really do. I really do. I think we're a better offense, clearly. If someone were to say Carson Wentz or Jared Goff right now, I would say Jared Goff. Anyways, we're getting off topic as usual.
The beers are flowing.
The beers are flowing like Capistrano.
Speaking of Denver.
Rockies. I thought there'd be a lot rockier.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hope you guys had fun watching this video. We'll obviously give you more context. Sorry about the week miss. We'll be more. And week 6 is next week, and before you know it, playoff implications.
Yeah.
Like I said, bye week this week for the Lions. Hopefully we can come back strong, show some teams. Packers, hopefully you'll gain some consistency. Hopefully all your play predictions will come to fruition this week.
You wrote those down, right?
I did, all of them.
Okay.
All of
All right.
them. I haven't had a little diagram of the routes, but
Yeah.
anyways, cheers.
Yeah, we'll see you next week,
See
guys.
you next
Cheers.
week.